Sarah Bedford of the Washington Examiner. Follow her at Twitter at Sarah C. Bedford. Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I don't know much about Speaker Johnson. I know he's been a guest on the show when he was back at Alliance Defending Freedom years ago, but I don't know him. What is the reaction among, and I use this phrase as a term of art, the donor class to Speaker Johnson? Will he raise the money that Speaker McCarthy did?
Well, I think the immediate reaction from just about everybody is relief. First of all, that the mess is over. I think there was so much fatigue that anyone not objectionable who was nominated for the fifth speaker after McCarthy was going to have a pretty good shot. That being said, I think that Mike Johnson is seen as like a least bad option. There were other people in the ring that made the establishment, so to speak, a lot more nervous, obviously. And so far, he's said all the right things. He's hit all the right notes. I do think there is that concern that to meet the fundraising prowess of a Tom Emmer or a Kevin McCarthy is going to be a tall order. But at least the drama is over and the Republicans can start picking up the pieces.
Now, do they really intend to do appropriations via regular order? They will need a CR, another one, right?
It seems that way. I mean, there seems to be a sticking point with every single piece of the appropriations fight right now. Not to mention that the White House is also, putting pressure on them for the supplemental spending package. So they've got a lot going on, and it's hard to see them getting that done by November 15th when they barely have 2 weeks left to do it at this point.
So if they don't get 12 appropriations bills passed into conference and then to back, they have to go to a CR or the government shuts down. Have you heard anybody wanting to shut the government down in the middle of a war?
Well, there's always going to be some of the voices on the right, who say that they don't mind a good government shutdown. What good does the government do? I mean, you have the handful of Freedom Caucus type members who have never shied away from a shutdown. That being said, I don't think that that's really anyone's really advocating for it at this point. But just look at, for example, the agriculture appropriations bill. There's a big fight brewing over the abortion pill authorization, whether that could be sent in the mail that could derail just that one bill. You have, problems with, you just have problems with basically every appropriations bill, and it's hard to see those getting worked out in just a couple of weeks.
There was a move to put in place a 15-month CR that cuts domestic spending by 1% except the Department of Defense. Is that still floating around?
I think that there were Republicans who were dissatisfied with the spending caps that were in some of the CRs previously. I mean, no one wants to do an omnibus, right? And were certain Republicans like Chip Roy who wanted to see spending cut down to pre-pandemic levels. And that wasn't in the deal that McCarthy had negotiated with Joe Biden. That's not something that Democrats are obviously going to support, or even some centrist Republicans. So I think there's a push among some to get those spending caps even lower.
And that last question, Sarah, the Republican, Mike Johnson was the deputy conference leader under Elise Stefanik. Somebody has to take his place. Do we know who that's going to be yet?
I haven't seen much on that. I mean, the dust is still sort of settling on who is the speaker, but obviously this whole process has revealed a lot of ambitious members who would like promotions. And so certainly there's probably a hope to get someone cut from the same conservative cloth into that role.
It'd be at least Stefanik is in that conservative class. I don't think I can recall when a conference kneecapped its speaker, its majority leader, and its whip in the same 3-week period, right?
That was pretty self-destructive behavior for Republicans.
They took out Tom DeLay, they took out Newt Gingrich, but never did the entire top 3 leadership get taken out or embarrassed or debilitated by a conference before. It's one of those moments in congressional history that won't be remembered by many people who aren't in Congress or by people who cover it like you do, Sarah, but it is really unprecedented, I think, that this happened. Sarah C. Bedford on the site known as Twitter, now known as X. Follow her. She knows what she's doing. She's on top of every story.